Our project is Skin Gluco. It'll be a glucagon patch for diabetic patients. So our team will have Audrey or Diep Vu from the Digital Arts program. And then our teammate is Anusuya. She's from the Engineering Management department at ITU. So I'd like to quickly go into it. So the problem we want to solve is diabetics patients. They rely on insulin therapy on a daily basis to prevent high blood sugar. But sometimes excessive insulin can cause, severe low blood sugar. It's also known as the hypoglycemia. And when the patient goes through this condition, they need immediate glucagon injection to prevent their blood sugar from dropping to life-threatening low levels. And the most common type of glucagon on the market comes in the injection kits, which are pretty complicated to administer and have a high possibility of causing infection if it's not done correctly in an emergency. So our goal for this project is to research and introduce a safer and more convenient alternative to deliver the glucagon to diabetic patients to treat this specific condition of low blood sugar. So what causes hypoglycemia? So diabetic patients have to constantly rely on insulin therapy to prevent high blood glucose. However, when they receive an excessive amount of insulin, their blood sugar might drop too low and will lead to hypoglycemia. Other common causes of hypoglycemia include not eating enough food after receiving their insulin or exercising a little bit more than usual. And the symptoms for this condition would be confusion, blurred vision, seizures, and loss of consciousness. If it is left untreated, then hypoglycemia can lead to permanent neurological damage or even death. And so we want to understand what is glucagon. So in non-diabetic people, when the blood sugar drops, the body will release a hormone called glucagon to bring the blood sugar to a normal level. And the whole process will start from the pancreas, which will produce glucagon and signal the liver to release glucose into the blood vessel, if you can see in this diagram. So in the case of hypoglycemia with diabetic patient, the body does not have the ability to naturally fix the blood sugar issue, the low blood sugar issue, and they will need an external source of glucagon to achieve that purpose. And so we would like to introduce our product called Skin Gluco. It is in the form of an adhesive skin patch with 3D printed micro needles. The needles will be longer than they are wide to make sure that they can puncture the top layers of the skin with the specific measurements of 1 millimeters wide and 1.5 millimeters long. Each patch has a total of 400 microneedles that are about 0.5 millimeters apart. And the Skin Gluco can deliver 1 milligram of glucagon into the bloodstream without the need for a traditional syringe injection. And we hope that it can raise blood sugar to the normal level in about 15 minutes or less. And then the target audience for our product would be patients with diabetes type 1 and type 2, and also non-diabetics with just low blood glucose issue. So this is the digital prototype for what the patch could look like. So it might look similar to what you see in like a nicotine patch or a motion sickness patch. And so we've done some research and found out that there are currently 4 types of drug delivery methods using microneedles that have been in research. So the first one, if you can see here, is the solid microneedles. It is used as a pre-treatment to puncture holes in the skin surface, and then you can apply some drug on top of your skin and then let that drug diffuse through the hole that you just created on your skin. And then, of course, the microneedles will have to be removed from your body afterwards. The second type would be coated microneedles. It is drug-coated and are inserted into the skin. Then the drug coating will dissolve off of the microneedles and into the skin. And then the microneedles will also have to be physically removed from the skin. The third type is the dissolving microneedles, which are the type that we're planning to use for our product right now. So these are, the microneedles are made of water-soluble or biodegradable materials loaded with drug that is released in the skin upon the microneedle dissolution. And the last type is the hollow microneedles, which are used to inject liquid formulations into the skin through the needle bore over here. And so, as I mentioned, the type of microneedles that we plan to use would be the self-dissolving one for convenience and safety reasons. So biodegradable 3D printed polymer microneedles have been in research by the University of Texas at Dallas to use for transdermal drug delivery as a painless and sanitary alternative to syringes. So the microneedles will be coated with glucagon, and then after being applied to the skin, it will break off and dissolve completely, leaving no traces of sharp needles in the body. So with this method, the disposal of used needles is no longer necessary. So patients can avoid causing injuries to themselves and others, and comply better with public health and safety measures. Oops. So there would be some different consideration during the manufacturing process that we have to think of. The first would be the sterilization technology to make sure that the glucagon stays safe for the users. So we've done some research, and we think that in terms of sterilization requirements, the skin gluco patch manufacturing process should be performed under aseptic conditions to make sure that the microneedles are always sterile. The microneedles could also be loaded with antibacterial silver nano particles to create like a 24-hour bacteria-free zone around the patch administration area. And then in terms of temperature control during the manufacturing process, providing that glucagon needs to be stored at low temperature from 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, or that is around 68 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit at all times. So we lean towards using low heat adhesive bonding methods to maintain the effectiveness of the drug. Some possible methods could be room temperature curing using epoxy or silicone, and moisture curing or UV light curing. And so I'll let my teammate continue speaking about the market analysis.
Hello everyone, good evening. This is Anasia. I thank you everyone for their time and effort to join me today. Let me get to the market analysis of this project. So the last year report says that we have globally close to 0.45 billion diabetic patients all over the world. It is expected to be 0.6 billion by 2045, and revenue that the global diabetes drug market makes about close to 60 billion in 2018 to 2019, and it is expected to hit around 87 billion by 2025. And the demand for glucagon is based upon how much is needed for the diabetic patients when they experience hypoglycemia condition, which is lower blood sugar levels, which is 60%. And out of those, only around 19% need their emergency room for their treatment. And it is actually out of the overall diabetic patients, 81% view it as a significant health concern. And with the highest number of diabetic patients affected worldwide in 2019 was mostly the two top Asian countries, which is China and India, where rice and wheat used to be the staple food, from which the glucose level is taking toll on people reaching their higher glucagon levels. And then third country is United States, and followed by then countries like Pakistan, and, some countries from South America, Mexico, Brazil, and even another few Asian countries tops the list among worldwide. And currently the target market is Asia, because that's where we find a lot of diabetic patients around. And also another reason behind is that a lot of people don't have awareness about this diabetic conditions, because those countries are fully underdeveloped in terms of food, money, and everything. And secondly, the largest targeted market is United States. And the competitors for this product we expect is Lilly Glucagon Emergency Kit and Baqsimi. So these are the two major competitors currently in the market, but they use needles. And the competitive advantage over our product is it is very simple to use, no more painful needles, and especially with COVID situation around, there is very least possibility for infection, being it's just a needle, micro needle. And the competitive advantage, another on the list, is no need to have any respiratory tract irritation, because it's not any thing to smell or just inhale through the nose. And it's very low in price, and no way for technological malfunction, because it's just a micro needle, just put it on your skin. There's no electronic devices associated with it. And there are two major governing agencies in the United Markets. They may approve for the product getting successful. One is American Diabetes Association, and the other one is, which is more familiar to everyone, is U.S. Food and Drug Administration. And the clinical trials for this simple medical device is split into three major stages. One is pilot stage, which is mainly focused on testing the safety and performance, which may include very less number of patients with non-critical conditions. And the second major stage is the largest study, expected to around from 150 to 300 patients, to determine like how this microneedle enters the glucose into the bloodstream, and what are its side effects. And so with that testing and validation, the post-approval process going to be like, once it is successfully launched into the market, and which is the long-term data collection process, just to improvise on the product features. And the side effects and security measures are sometimes there could be a chance to get nauseated, or even rapid increase for blood pressure due to the difference in glucose levels. And there are three types of patches that we are aiming to develop. One is, each categorized into 1 milligram, 2, and 3. And depending upon the severity and the condition, the doctor can prescribe the type of patches. and it can just make a tiny marks on the skin, but without hurting the skin. It's just a simple or least demerits of this, and it is a single time use, no need to reuse it, so it avoids a lot of infection, and the product is not designed so. And the final is the marketing strategy based on this product. We have analyzed the product features to meet the four major piece of marketing, which is product feature, price, and place and promotion, which everyone knows. It is a familiar concept in the engineering world. And yeah, like product wise, we have gone through like what are the major features and what are its safety measures and adverse effects. And the price wise, we are proposing like there is no need for needles or bottles anymore. That saves a lot of plastics or kind of that impose more eco-friendly. And the place wise, it is a better approach when compared to the other competitors. So it can be a definitely hit to the market and can make more revenue. And the promotion, we can contact the hospitals or the clinics or the urgent cares where the patient gets admitted during the case of emergency, whenever they need these kind of microneedles for entering into the bloodstream to raise the glucose levels. So I think we have covered all the analysis and the strategy in terms of product marketing and overall. And yeah, conclusion is it can definitely be a boom in the medical industry, because we have like millions of patients all over the world for the diabetics, and with this, lot of millions of people going to benefit out of it. Especially, it can save a lot of people in their life-threatening conditions, and they can still make virtual appointments. And online ordering is a possibility because if there is no side effect, you can just order it or even get it from the famous pharmacies. And it only has an additional, the newer technology is 3D printing in the medical field. So that needs to have more research on it to get this into a fully solvable solution.